Hi, I'm Alicia and welcome to the Mintay Papers YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing a tutorial using the Mintay Papers Joy of Life. In this tutorial we are going to create a family photo album. I'm going to take you step by step through exactly how to create the album. I'm going to show you what products that you need to create the album, and together we can create this, put this all together, and then you can add your own family photos into the album and either keep it as something for yourself or give it away as a gift. So let's get started. To begin with, we're starting with the Mintay Chippies album base. And we are teaming it with the beautiful Mintay Papers Joy of Life collection. Now, I happen to adore this collection. I love the colors, I love the images. It really is very, very pretty, so I'm happy to be using it today, and it also suits a wide variety of photographs. I'm looking for a front cover for my album, so I'm just flicking through the papers to see which one I think will suit the best for my album cover. I finally decide on this page. I really love this page. I love the sort of mint green background and the delicate flowers and the pretty little birds sprinkled through. I'm choosing a Mintay Kreativa paint to paint my album with, and I was just tossing up over a few of the different colors, but I think I'm going to go with just plain white. You could choose any color that you like out of the Mintay Kreativa paints. I'm going to put this on with a paintbrush, but you could use a foam brush if you preferred. We're just going to paint the entire front cover, the family cover, with the Mintay Kreativa white paint. Once you have done the front cover lying down, it's time to sort of sit it up on its side and get the up and down little bits inside the word family and inside the sort of decorative swirls. So I'm just going through with the paintbrush and trying to cover as many of those little bits that I can. Once you're happy with that, it's time to just paint the edges of each of the album pages. So I'm just using the white chalk paint to just go around the edges of the chipboard so that that will match my front cover. Let's move on now to the pages of our book. The pages measure 5.5 by 7.5 inches. We're going to cut our 12 by 12 paper in half at 5.5 inches. So we'll have a 5.5 inches along there, 12 inches along there. We need 10 of these, so that is 5 pages of your 12 by 12 Mintay paper. Alright, so here's our chopping board, and here is our 12 by 12 Joy of Life paper. So take your chosen page. We're going to cut at 5.5 inches, and then again at 5.5 inches. That's one page down, 4 to go. Take your second page, measure at 5.5 inches. Now, depending if you like the bottom of the pattern better, you can measure the 5.5 inches from the bottom of the page if you want to check out the picture and make that decision. Here's our next one, 5.5, 5.5. I have now cut 5 pages of 12 by 12 paper into my 2 5.5 by 12 inch rectangles. So that means that I have 10 rectangles all together now. We're going to score at 7.5 inches. So just scoring down on the 7.5 inch mark and folding that paper in. That's going to be a flip in our album, so it's going to be on the page like that and it will open out. I'm going to do that again, 7.5, but I'm going to turn it around the other way so that that will match. Okay, so this will be on one side of the album and then the other page will be on the other side of the album. Right, so 7.5, so that's going to fold one way, 7.5, that will fold that way. Now I'm going to match my papers, so that one was the wrong paper. I'm going to have them matching so that the flaps will match. So let me just get that other yellow one. I'm going to score it like that. I'll explain in a minute, it'll make a little bit more sense. 7.5 there, fold it that way. 7.5 upside down, fold it that way. Okay, so you'll see this is the inside of the album and the pages will open out. So let me show you what I mean. So here's our album. When you open out the first page, this is what you will see. Let me just move that out of the way. Both pages will have the pink on the flap and they will open out. Okay, so I'm matching my papers. You don't have to, but that's what I wanted to do. So here we've got the weathered wooden look as the flap opening out. On this page we have the yellow jumper paper and that's opening out. And then we have another page, just grab that part of the album and it will open out. It'll have the pink on the inside, the blue on the outside. Now for our front cover measures 5.5 by 7.5, so I've cut that out to 5.5 by 7.5. That's going to go on the front, and then I've got another one at the back. So I'm matching my front and back cover. That's completely optional, up to you whether you want to do that or not. I'm going to take the front family page now, and I'm going to add some glue to the page and I'm going to glue that onto the paper. So I'm just going around all the words, all the letters, and just sticking that down and making sure that's nice and firmly stuck on. And now I'm going to glue on the back section here, the back of the front cover. Glue that on. It's so pretty, isn't it, that paper? I just love it. We are now moving on to create the binding for our album. This is what it will look like when you have finished making the binding section. So take a white piece of 12 by 12 cardstock where we will cut this to 5.5 by 11.5 inches. There's our 5.5 cut. And there is our 11.5 inch cut. So now we have our 5.5 by 11.5 inch rectangle. Place it at the top of your scoring board. We are going to score at 3/4 of an inch, which I've already done that score line. Then we're going to 1.5 inches. Then we're going to 2 2.75, 3.5, 4, 4 3/4, 5 1/2, 6, 6 3/4, 7 1/2, 8, 8 3/4, 9 1/2, 10, 10 3/4, and that'll bring you to 11 1/2. So you need to score all of those lines, every single one. Then we're going to fold, mountain, mountain fold, valley fold. We leave a gap, we go mountain and valley, and then we leave a gap. You can see the gap there. There's our gap. Mountain and valley, leave a gap, mountain and valley, leave a gap, mountain and valley, leave a gap, mountain and valley. Now we're going to smooth that down. And we're going to turn that over and smooth it down the other way as well. That will make 6 different hills. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There has to be 6 hills. Okay, smooth that down one way, smooth that down the other. Alright, now we're going to start gluing that together. So we want our hills to be glued together, not our gaps. So a line of glue or a bit of tape on the inside of your hill, glue that together. Don't touch your gap. Glue on the inside of your hill. Stick that together. So there's your hill, and you can see the gaps are forming in between. The gaps allow us to embellish the album. If we didn't have the gaps, we couldn't use flowers on the inside of our album and still have our album sit relatively straight and flat. Glue on the inside of that hill and stick that together, and then our very last little hill, and stick that together. Okay, that's all looking good. And then just fold it one way, fold it the other, make sure that they fold both ways so that the pages will be able to move. And that's our binding piece. Just like it will be in our album. So we're getting ready to glue our spine to the pages of our album now. So we're going to take the back page of our album, and we'll start with that first. Just make sure that you've got all of your white edges facing to the front. So here's our back page. So what we will do is we're just going to glue that straight onto our cardboard hill that we created. So all you need to do now is add some glue to the back page and glue that little hill down onto, that's the inside of the back page. Then we're going to be gluing this paper on top of that, and that will hide the binding. So just lots of glue on this, and then the flap that opens outways, gluing that onto that back page of the album. So that will open out like that when we have our album created. Alright, let's take our next piece. Now this one's going to be glued on to there. So I'm just going to smooth that down and hold it. And then this piece will be glued on here. Like that. So you can see how that little space creates space in between our pages. And then we have our next page that will go on top of our binding. And that will open out. Our next page now. Just putting a little bit of glue there onto that, and I'm going to glue that onto the back of the binding piece. Gluing on this other page so that flap opens out that way. That's looking good so far. Let's keep going. I'm going to add some paper to the other side of that wooden page. So we're just gluing that page down now. That covers up that white bit of binding that we've attached our page to. Let's make sure all of our edges are smooth and aligned. Let's add in our next page on the back of that binding piece. Just add a little bit more glue. Make sure that's attached properly. Add in our next page, the yellow jumper page. And so that one opens out. And then our paper on this side, which will be the distressed wood page. that there. Smooth that down. And we're just continuing on to do the last few pages, adding our next page on. So putting some glue and gluing that to the back of the binding tab, and then pasting on the coordinating piece of distressed wood paper. We're nearly there now. Our next piece of paper going in. This is our really pretty floral paper. Blue on the bottom, pink on the top. Our last page, gluing this section here and then sticking that bit down. And that will be the first page of the album. When we open up, we'll see this as our first page. And this is our front cover. So our front cover will glue over the top of that binding piece and all the way across this page here. Smooth that down. Okay, that's looking really good now. That's all the pages are now nice and secure into the album. And everything is set there, ready to go. Now I'm going to use this, I keep calling this the yellow jumper page. The yellow jumper page, I'm cutting it at 5.5. And then I'm going to cut it at half an inch, all the way along. And these will go in the middle of our pages, just so we don't have like a blank of white. You can use any paper that you like. It doesn't have to be the yellow jumper. It can be whatever one you prefer. I'm just pasting that on the inside just to cover up that white binding strip there. So the base of the album is almost finished now. I've just got a little bit of a bend there in the spine, and I'm hoping that with a little bit of extra paper on the outside, that might just reinforce that a little bit and just keep it a little bit straighter. So I measure a piece of the yellow jumper paper again. I just, obviously it's going to be 5.5 in length, and then just whatever that is, measure across the spine there, and then we can just add that paper on. Alternatively, you could add a strip of fabric. You want it to be able to bend, so I don't know how a really strong piece of cardboard would go. You could try it and let me know. And then just making sure that's set, and that just gives that spine, the spine of the album, just a little bit more support. And that's the base of our album completed. It's looking really nice. It's now time for us to add our photos and add our embellishments. Just make sure that that's really glued down beautifully so it's not looking not looking like there's any bits and pieces pulling off it or Alright, so we're moving on to our photo mats now, and our photo mats are going to measure 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. I'm going to make my photo mats out of plain cardstock. You can choose what you would like to make yours out of. I'm choosing this pink, I think it's called Tutu, Craft Tutu cardstock, and I'm measuring it to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Now, because I've included the barcode strip, I can fit 4 rectangles out of one 12 by 12 because I didn't chop off the barcode strip. That gives you an extra 1/2 inch. So these will be placed on the inside of the album. So that would give me 4 of those. On the flap, on the inside of the flap, I'm going to add another photo on the inside of the flap as well. I'm taking my next 12 by 12 page, it's oatmeal. I'm going to measure at 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. So I'll cut another 4 1/4 and a 4 1/4. You can see how my barcode strip is not cut off there. So that gives me another 4 in yellow. So I've got 4 in pink, 4 in yellow. So let's just place those in. There, and pink in there. Okay, we're still going to need another 2. You can mix these around as to, what colours suit which papers better. Now for the green card, we're going to cut at 6 1/4 and then by 4 1/4 and again at 4 1/4, and we'll only need 2 of those green ones. So I'm just sort of placing those in to sort of like think about what colours will go with what page is the best. Just going to pop that yellow in there and put the pink in there. Okay, so they've all got those bigger ones now. So let's get these pages pasted in, these photo mats pasted in, I should say. So we're just going to pop those on the inside of the flaps. This is where we'll put our photos. For the purpose of this album, I'm not going to be adding photos. I have my photos selected, but I'm giving this away as a gift. And so I'm choosing not to put the photos into the YouTube video. It's going to be photos from a family photo shoot. There we go. And the pink ones. On there, yellow ones on here, there we go. So that's all of those in the album now, and they're all ready to go. On the inside of the flaps, we're going to have another spot for a photo. So with your scraps, we can cut these in two. So let's have a look here. The measurements are going to be 3.5 by 4.25. So they're already measuring 3.5, and I'm going to put that in at 4.25. So cut the green ones. And I'm going to make pink match pink, yellow match yellow. You don't have to. If you prefer to have, you know, a variety of colours with your cardstock, it's totally fine. I wanted the continuity of the same colours as you opened the flaps. So there's our pink. Now we'll add our green. Now we'll add our yellow. Now we need to cut a few more of these, so we're taking out a new page of yellow, cutting it at 3.5. Pink one, 3.5. Right, so let's add our pinks on. And we'll add our yellows on. So now we have all of our photo mats in position in our album. I'm just adding a touch more glue to that edge there. I just really want that paper to sit really, really nicely. Now we're using the quote set by Mintay. So this is a Mintay Chippies 12 by 12 quote set, and these quotes are perfect for a family album that I'm making today. Now, to take these out of the chippy very carefully, I like to use a little blade to get them out without bending them and breaking them. So you will notice that there are little joins in the letters to the backboard of the chipboard, and I find that the easiest way to get those out is to just use your blade and just carefully cut through that extra joining piece. Just going to swap blades because that one wasn't very good. There we go. So as I'm going through and cutting, whoops, I'm cutting around the sentiment, cutting through those little joining pieces. That allows me to really carefully take out my little sentiment or my quote. And these are beautiful, beautiful quotes. Love knows no limits. Family, love, hope. You are amazing, kind, and loved. You and me. Faith, love, hope, and family. Friends and family gather here. All these sort of lovely, lovely quotes that are perfect for my family album. So you just need to take your time and just get out all of the quotes that you're going to use. Now the next thing I did was I fussy cut a lot of balloons out of the 12 by 12 page that is just all balloons. These are a really great filler that I'm going to use in this album. So you can see a large balloon here, and I'm going to team that up with a flower and a sentiment. So the embellishments are going to be quite simple, but still they're going to look really pretty. So those flowers are Prima flowers, and we're going to add some pretty crinkled ribbon to go with our flower. So tie that ribbon into a bow, and that will sit in behind our flower. And then if you want to really crinkle it up a bit, you can just rub it in your hands, and that'll sort of crinkle it all up for you so that you get that distressed vintage look with the ribbon. We're going to add some glue to the back of that sentiment now. And then we'll stick that down. We're also going to add a little twine bow. So we need to glue all of those things down. Alright, so moving on to the other side, we've got another large balloon, we've got a quote, and we've got a Prima flower. Just depends what side you want the flower on. We're going to put some recycled cardboard on the back of our balloon, and we're going to stick that on there. Cut your ribbon to 40 centimeters. That's a good length for a bow. And cut your twine to 30 centimeters. That's a good length to make a bow out of some twine. If you would like to cut all of your ribbon now, you can, so that you have everything ready to go. And you can also cut all of your twine now as well, so that you have enough pieces for each page. So that would be 10 pieces altogether, so 10 ribbons and 10 pieces of twine, and then you can tie them all into bows. And you can tie all your twine bows as well, and that way everything will be ready then for when you're going about embellishing your pages, and it'll be a lot quicker. Alright, so now that we've got our bows ready to go, we can glue our little sentiment on. Position that on your balloon to one side of your balloon. Add your ribbon and your twine and your flower. Moving on to the next page. This came from the fussy cut sheet on the back of the front cover. I fussy cut out all of those images, and they have some lovely floral images. So I'm using some floral images on these pages, not just always going to be using the balloons. I'm going to try to break it up a little bit, but I'm adding some balloons in as well. If it's a cut balloon, like it's half cut at the bottom or half cut on the side, you can still use that balloon. You just need to position it on the edge of the page so it looks like it's meant to be cut there. So if we put the balloon down first, layer that on, and then we're going to layer our floral clusters over the top. We're going to use a bit of recycled cardboard, glue that down. There we go. Yep. And then we're going to glue on our sentiment. And stick that on top of the flowers. Scrunch up your ribbon. Put some glue on. Add some ribbon, twine and the flower. Same on this side, let's layer up the floral cluster onto some recycled cardboard. Let's add our beautiful wooden sentiment. Put some glue on the back of that. Scrunch up our bow. Glue all of that down. There we go, it's looking beautiful. Moving on to our next page now. You can play around with different elements from the fussy cutting page, or you can use balloons from the balloon page that we cut out. It's up to you. Sometimes it might be nice to just use one large balloon, other times you can use 2 smaller balloons. So this time I'm going to put the double-sided, the cardboard underneath the balloon. I'm going to have my sentiment to one side of the balloon and my flower and ribbon on the other side. I'm thinking about adding in an extra little piece of floral picture there just to finish that off. Moving on to this side, some recycled cardboard. And then the quote over the top of the 2 balloons. The crinkled ribbon, the flower and the piece of twine. Gluing everything down. Moving on to the next page now. Choosing my sentiments. Maybe I'll be able to use the bicycle on this page, I don't know. Let's try the balloon first. Let's try the bicycle second. That's looking good. Balloon and bicycle on the other side as well to match. Crinkled ribbon, twine and a flower. And our sentiment, you and me. Balloon and bicycle on the other side, flower and ribbon and twine to decorate, and our sentiment on top. Moving on to the next page now. I'm putting some recycled cardboard on this balloon and I'm going to have it sort of hanging down from the sky. Then I'm having a beautiful floral cluster over here, and my ribbon and my twine and my flower, and my sentiment's going to sit down low on top of the floral cluster on this page. That side over there I'm adding 2 balloons that are sort of cut off a little bit. Just finding the flower. I'm going to have 1 balloon at the bottom of the page and 1 balloon at the top of the page, the sentiment through the middle, and my flower underneath. And that is all of the pages decorated now in the album. Everything's finished. Just go through and trim off any little pieces of ribbon or twine that are too long and that need cutting. And we might have a look at the album and see what it looks like now that it's finished. So you can see now all the pages are complete and ready for photographs. And just the very last thing that I want to do is I just want to add a little bit of glitter glue to each of the sentiments just to finish them off, give them just a little bit of sparkle. You'll have to do this carefully because they'll have to be done, you'll have to allow them time to dry before you close the page and go on to the next page. So just keep that in mind. So do these two sentiments and then let them rest for half a day. Do the next two sentiments, or alternatively you could glitter them all up first on the chipboard sheet and then cut them out and paste them in, and they'd all be done then. That would be another good way to do it. So I went through after this and added in all of the photos for the person that I was giving this gift to, and I was really happy with how the album turned out. I hope you enjoyed it. That's the end of the video tutorial. Let's just take a couple of seconds to review the photos of the album. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial for how to make a family chippy album by Mintay with the Mintay Joy of Life papers. Make sure you are subscribed to the Mintay YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely crafty day.